Okay. So Joyce, if you could see your screen, I mean, this is my guess again. So if you have opened your screen of the day 3, okay. So now you could see that there is something, a kind of um, a new update has happened on the Power BI. Okay. So if you identify, like, how did I identify that there is a new Power BI which has been pushed to everyone? So now you could see here, earlier this is in the yellow color. Now this is in green color. And also you could see here, this is in the green theme. Okay. So I could also see that there is a new, I mean, this is a new Power BI desktop version that has been pushed on. And similarly, what else I identified here? I could also see that there is one more default preview that has been added, which is which we will call the metrics. Okay. But yeah, unfortunately, this metrics works only through the Power BI Pro license and Power BI organization level. This requires a Pro license, otherwise around this doesn't work. So this is a new thing that I just identified the moment once I uh, opened the Power BI, and then I mean prior to our call, I just opened it and I was going through like what is there something a new thing that I could able to see. So this is what I identified. Okay. So as I told you that there could be usually a different, sometimes there could be a different ways of version that they keep pushing in, and this is a new version that they have pushed in. Okay. So now let's continue from where we have left. So last time the place where we have stopped is we created one bar and column visual, and this is the stake bar chart and this is the stake column chart. Okay.
Yes.
Right. So what I'm doing right now, I'm going to make a copy of this file by right click here on this page and make a duplicate of the page. And I would mention still the bar or column. I'll retain the same name, bar or column, but I'm going to put this as 2 because the earlier things what we did see is a stake bar chart and a stake column chart. Now that we are going to see, look at the clustered bar chart and clustered column chart. So which are the next two visuals which are clustered. Okay, the clustered bar and clustered column chart. So I'm just mentioning here clustered bar chart and this is clustered column chart. So now let's look at what is a clustered bar chart looks like. So in the stake bar chart, now you can see that we have added two data elements and both data elements are staked here. Now on the clustered bar chart, what you're going to just witness is I'm going to select this visual and straightly go to the visual 3, then select third visual. The moment once you select the third visual, you can just see that instead of staking, it is put in a side by side. Okay. Instead of the stake, it just put side by side. So this is called the clustered bar chart. So remaining options will remain the same. Like if I go back to the format your visual and then probably on the bars, I'll be again using a different colors. So the average cost, I'm just mentioning it in the red color, and then average of the KPIs, I'm using the black color. That's the only change that I have brought in. Now, apart from this, what else I have to look at?
Ethan, can't you please check your audio? Echo is there.
Eco.
Ah, yes.
Um, it is absolutely okay from my end. I'm using only one single device. Is it something like you are using two devices? That's why it is echoing. Just if you could use other device, probably you can mute the audio there. Let me see this.
Yeah, Srikant, that's right. Joyce would be, I mean, having both the audio on, so at least she could,
Listen
the,
twice or something.
yeah. If it is there quite adjacent to each other, the echo will be there for her.
You are you are hearing properly, right, Pravas?
Yeah, I'm able to hear properly.
Okay. Okay. So on this particular visual, since I have just converted this to a clustered bar chart, okay, let's look at the further analysis to this. What are the different kinds of analysis that you are seeing? So instead of the constant line alone, now this time you have got a bunch of analysis, coin minimum line, maximum line, average, median, percentile, and then the error bars. Okay. So if you look at the data here, okay, so minimum, I mean, like how you have used the constant line, as I told you, for any such kind of visuals that you're using. So most likely when you're working on the analysis, you will concentrate more if there is a necessary that you can use a minimum and a maximum line. Okay. So instead of representing one line, you can just use two different lines here. Similarly, you can either use an average line by setting up an average line of what is your average cost of the products, or like average cost, what you're doing it, right? So you can use an average line. Similarly, the median, it comes in just by the formula. I mean, I'm just guessing, right? You are aware of this median, how it works in, correct?
Yes.
Right. Similarly, you have got the percentile line. So on the percentile line, I don't want to again stretch more over this, but in a simple way to say, on the percentile, how does this work? So in percentile line, you're just going to add the same thing, like how you have added the constant line, but here you're just going to add a simple percentile line where either it is a 10th percentile or 20th percentile, 30th percentile, or and so on. Okay. Um, do you know like how the normal percentile line gets calculated? Or should I have to be a little elaborative on this?
Elaborate, please.
Okay. So let me give you a simple example. Right now I have got around six different values, but when you go to the data set, I have multiple values over there. Let's say, for example, if I'm taking going to the data set,
வேணாம்.
and in the data set, for example, if I'm looking at, let's say the average cost for the two people, okay, then I would certainly take one particular number, like a cutoff number, okay. Um, let's say, for example, I am taking considering 400 as my cutoff number. So what I would be doing, I will first look at total number of line items that I have till 400. Okay, total number of line items I have till 400, which means all the lines between 0 and 400 are calculated, taking total number of values, how many total number of values I have. Okay, and then divided by the number, like whatever the target number that I'm achieving, into 100 gives me a certain percentage. So for example, where do you usually consider the percentile line? You would come across this percentile line during, most likely during the scores. Uh, you would have heard about the MSET or IIT, triple IT or something, right? Or CAT. CAT is one of the common entrance tests, right? So if you look at this common aptitude test, how the scores have been rated, they have there is nothing like um, first rank or second rank in that. Okay, they go by the percentile. Okay, if there are around four people in the class or five people in the class, and then their average scores are between 50 to 80, right? So they will consider one of the particular score as a cutoff, let's say around 70. And then since we have got the five people, so they usually take that average and then see how many people are falling between that particular score, right? By the total number of people that they have, and based on that, the percentage that they receive, that is what we normally say it as a percentile line. Here in the Power BI, it is going to be a very, very simple and straight case. When you are giving the percentile number directly, like let's say around 50th percentile or 70th percentile. So based on that, it is going to backtrack how many total number of values are there. And based on that, it's going to just plot the percentile line.
Okay.
Okay. And again, apart from this, what else you have got is the error bar. So on the error bar, usually to work on the error bar, this is the only place where you will see that you will have two different set of values that you are going to give. One is called the upper bound, and then one other one is called the lower bound. Okay. If you ask me like, wait, what is the best place that you can use an error bar? For example, if you are considering, let's say you're running a factory, okay, and you have got five different machines or five different assembled machines that they are working continuously, one after the other. Okay. Um, in this case, usually what we do, for each of the machine that it is producing the total number of machines over it. Okay, let's say machine 1 is producing around 100 quantity, machine 2 is also equipped to use 100 quantity, machine 3 100 quantity. Okay, within a time frame, let's say for example within a particular time frame, you wanted to see how many total number of average total number of products are being assembled. So in that, again, you will be having some idle time, and also you will see within that particular time, you will count how many total number of minimum products it is being assembling, and then maximum. So you observe this trend. So when you are plotting this on a particular graph and then saying machine 1 produces so and so and machine 2 produces so and so total number of average total products. Okay, there, at this case, you will also try to mention for each of the bar you are showing, for each of the one of the bar, you can also show the minimum and maximum line it is showing, and then you can plot an average over it. So that is what the error bars are useful. So for example, in this particular case, if I want to produce the total data for this, okay, since I'm using the cost in USD, okay, this might not be a right example, but still I'm just giving you, if this is a cost in the USD. So I'm using, I I don't have an option here called the maximum or minimum. Okay, usually what we need to do is we need to plot the data separately and then keep it for them, like minimum and maximum. Only then you should be able to see the total value here. So here in this case, you might not see the value. As I told you, you might not see it properly. The only reason why it is not being shown up is because we don't have a value like a minimum and maximum between that lines. So we are not seeing such kind of data. Okay, but usually if there is a minimum line and there is a maximum line, and then that's where you can bring in the lower boundary and upper boundary for that particular set of fields, and then you can plot it onto the visual. So that's where the error bars will be helpful for you. Okay, this is a very least case that you might find, but just keep this in mind whenever you have anything, you can understand it. So I'm just giving you notes here the same way like I have done for the remaining other things. So you have constant line, minimum line, maximum line, and what else you have? Percentile, average, median, and error bars. So these are the different kinds of analysis that you're going to witness on the clustered bar chart. Now, the same thing you're going to see it on the clustered column chart as well. Instead of showing this in a horizontal way, you will see this in the vertical way. Like when I select this visual and then just simply click on the clustered column chart, you're going to see the same thing, the same representation, but in a vertical way. So what are the different analysis again you'll find on the clustered column chart? Whatever the analysis that you see here, like constant line, minimum, max, percentile, average, median, and error bars, you're also going to see the same thing here in the column chart as well. Okay. So if you want, just select this visual and then see the click on the analysis. You will see all the same analysis: constant, minimum, max, average, median, percentile, and error bar.
Okay.
Okay. So bar chart and column chart, this is what you are going to see for all the things. The next bit is like the 100% stake bar chart and 100% staked column chart. Now, what is the difference that you'll find between these two? You will not find any difference, but rather everything gives in 100%. Let's say, for example, I am making a duplicate copy of the first one. Here, I'm just going to rename this to bar and column. Rather, I'll just mention it as bar column 3. So I'm using this visual and then changing the visual to the fifth one. So this is how you will see the stake bar chart. Since we have got the analysis line around 1500 percentage, so if I remove the constant line also here, so this is where you can just see the data. Only difference that you are going to find out in between the staked and the 100% staked bar chart. So 100% stake bar chart will be giving you in terms of like on a 100% of the scale, it will divide your total number of elements. Let's say you're adding only two values. If you add any third value, then again it is bifurcated as per the 100%, the total amount of the data. Okay, so this is called the 100% stake bar chart. And on the analysis bit, it again remains the same. So when I select this visual and then look for the analysis, you will see only the constant line. And the same thing lies with the 100% column chart, staked column chart. Why is it showing like this? Because my constant line is very higher. So that's the reason why. So I'm just using 100% staked column chart, which also does have the same constant line. So the very first line have three different sets of bar and column chart. So staked bar chart, where you will see the values. The same values, if you want to see it in the percentage wise, then you will use the 100% staked. Or if you want to see the same values in a side by side, then you're going to use the clustered bar chart.
Okay.
Is it clear now?
Yes.
All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make another copy of this second one, which is bar column 2. Okay, I'm just making a duplicate of this. And here I would say line or area. Okay, I'll just mention this as line visual. And I'm going to just remove this and I'll keep the line chart here. Okay, so for a moment, I'll not work on anything. I'm not going to work on anything. Rather, what I'm going to do is I'm going back to my data for a while. I'm going back to my data and then I'm just looking at my data here. So far we are producing the data in different ways using the continent and average cost. These are the fields that we are looking at. But for a while, let's think about how do we denote the same data and represent this in a different methodology. So when I say different methodology, you see here on the data set, I have got KPI as on. So there is certain date given, correct? There is a date given here. Now let's look at some simple DAX, a kind of a simple DAX formulas, like how you can able to work on this. So the first thing, I want the data by quarter wise, by month and year. I want to segregate based upon the data that it has been already been given. I want to again divide the data by months, by quarter and by year. So in Excel, it is absolutely easy for us when we drop in a pivot table, because whenever you have a column with a date format in Excel, and when you plot a pivot table, that automatically creates a hierarchy group there, like year, quarter, month, days. This is how you would be seeing it. But in Power BI, how do we do it? So now the very first thing what I'm going to do is I'm looking at the data view. In the data view, I'm looking at the KPI column. When I select the KPI column, you can see first thing, the data type is in the text format. So first thing what I'm going to do is to change this to the date format. So you have got two different formats, date or time or date or time. So I'm using a date format. So I click on OK. So this will just convert the simple data type into a date format first. So when I select the date format, it is giving a different kind of format, like Friday, September. If I want to change the format of this, I have formats here. Like this is a short date or month date, year Y, or any format that you can pick in. So let's say I'm just picking up the short date. So this is how a short date is looking like. Okay. So I went to the data view, selected the KPI as a column, and then changed the data type to the date, and then gave the format as a short date. And now I'm just saving the file. So let's look at how do you add a DAX, okay? Or you can add a kind of a new formula to extract some information out of it. The first thing you can observe on the data, okay? Like not like in the Power Query, because in Power Query, you have an option where you can directly extract the data using transform or add column tab. You can use both the ways by extracting information. But here what we are doing is we are going to write a simple DAX. So for this, what I'm going to do is to create a new column. I can use a measure. However, I'm not going to rely on the measure. I'm going to rely on the column here so that you will see the results properly. So I'm going to select a new column. And the moment once I select a new column, you can see on the right hand side, the column has been created. And I'm going to write the column name. I'll just mention this quarter. Okay. Now my point is like it should automatically calculate the quarter. Now bringing a customer record. Okay. Just there is a lot of echo. Do you have any questions? Okay. Um, so here, when we have to extract the quarter out of the data, guys, there is a lot of disturbance. Yeah, now it is okay. But do you have any question? You can put me in the chat window. Probably I'll look at that. Okay, I assume you don't have any questions so far. So our target is to bring out the quarter for each of this month, like according to the normal financial year, which is from April to March. Okay, uh, uh, or let's say not from April to March. In Power BI, usually it goes from Jan to December. Okay, so for now, let's just see a formula and then we can also fine tune those later. So first thing, in order to calculate the quarter, there is a straight case. Like in Excel, we have a formula called text formula. Okay, we have a formula called text formula in Excel, wherein using the text you can build it multiple formats. Similarly, here you can also bring the same thing. So what I do, I'm just using a formula called the format. And what is the format that I wanted to bring for? I want to bring the format onto the KPI, consolidated KPI, right? So I'm using, I just type K, so I could find the column called the consolidated KPI. Selected this. Okay, comma. Now, for me to bring the quarter, I can just give a formula called Q in brackets. I'm just bringing Q in the double quotes. So when I click on enter, you will see that the format comes in a number format, but this is still not in the number format. If you look at the format of it, this is still in the text format. So how do I convert this into a number? For that, the simple way I can do is I can use a formula called integer. Okay, int. This will convert any text number into a number format. So when I press enter, now you could see this is in the number format, whole number. Okay, so this is the February month. It has been given in terms of one first quarter, like Jan, Feb, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December. Okay, the formula that you will be using to convert a text to a number format is integer. But usually we give the quarters with like Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. So for example, if I want to bring the same methodology here, how do I do that? For that, it's going to be a very simple way. In the format where you have mentioned Q, so you are going to use a backslash and then give capital Q. Okay, capital Q. Backslash and capital Q will help you to create a format. However, when I press enter here, you will see an error. Reason, the format of this is converting into a text format, but I'm converting the text to a number format. Q1 cannot be converted to a number. 1 can be converted to a number. Okay. So for that reason, what I'm doing, I'm just eliminating this int here. And I just retain the format and then press enter. So now you can just see there is a quarter added to this particular data. Similarly, if I want to extract 1 month, okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to just select a new column and I would say month and I'll say format. I'm using the KPI column as on, comma. Just see if I type month like this, like triple M. Okay. Similarly, I mean, the same thing, like how you see in the Excel, whatever the format that you give, you will get the same thing here. This is for the triple M. And Now I'm going to add year. I'll just say year. And I'm using the formula one more time, and KPA as on, comma, for year, you're just going to put the year. But since the year will be in the number format, it should be in the number format, you can give int. Otherwise, you can just still rely on the double y, so that this will give you the year in a text format. Okay. So this is how I have extracted the quarters, month, and year. Are you clear till here? Were you be able to do this? DAX?
Yes.
Right. Now, also just take a look at this one. When I select the month, okay, and I want to put this in the SN. Okay, let's first thing, let's take a look at the report. Okay, and then let's plot the line visual for a moment. Then let's talk about the remaining things. So I'm going to delete one particular label. Okay, and I will just mention the same thing here. Line visual. Okay, and this time what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove the y-axis. I'm going to remove this x-axis, everything. And I'm in the selection of the visual. So I'm changing this to a line chart. And on the x-axis, I'm going to bring month data. And also I'm going to bring on the y-axis, let's say the cost in USD, and mention this as average. Okay. And since we already have added the constant line, there is a constant line here, but let's talk about that later. So for a moment, let's look at this. This is what here you can see. This is the line chart. But if you observe the line chart, usually when we denote a line chart, usually what happens? It should be giving us by January, February, March, April, and so on. But it is giving in a different direction altogether. So let's see how you can able to sort this. Okay. First thing what I'm going to do is usual way by just imagine your data is 100% perfect. So what usually we do, we'll click on these three dots where is more option, click on the sort axis, and instead of average cost, I would select this as a month. And also I'll go back to the same three dots again, and I will mention the sort axis to ascending. Now, if you observe the ascending order, what happened by month, it is showing alphabetical order like April, August, December, February, Jan, which is not true. This is not the true way of representation, because for us, January, February, March, April, this is how it should look like. For that, what you need to do? How do you want to bring this back to a normal format? So there is no straight case. Why? What happens on the Power BI? Power BI or Power Query doesn't have the capability to understand that there are 12 months and they can be in a sequence like January, February, March, April, and so on. It doesn't know that there is a sequence like this. But what it only know the sequence like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on. Okay. Power BI can able to recognize the numbers in a proper way, like an ascending or a descending. But the numbers or the month names in an ascending or a descending order, it cannot identify. So how do you supply the same? And how do you ensure this comes in a simple format? For that, what you are going to do is I'm going to the data view again, and I'm going to create one more new column. And I'm going to give the name here as month name and say format, which is KPA, the column month, date column, comma, and then in double quotes, I'm just going to mention M. But if you remember, the moment once you use a format, it will only give you the format in a text. It should always be in the number format. So I'm also going to use the INT formula here, INT of this particular format, and then press enter. The moment once I press enter, you will see that there is a month name column added, and then it represents everything in a month. Okay. Now I'm going to remove the summarization here on the top. I will say don't summarize anything, just keep it the same. Okay. Since I'm not going to use this anywhere, but I'm just going to use this for a formatting. So once after I do this, okay, I have given a month name and then wrote the formula called INT, and within that the format, I'm going to bring the month. And I just changed this to don't summarize. So now what is the next step I'm going to do? I'm going to first sort this month name as through ascending. I'm going to sort this through ascending order. So I have selected the ascending order. Now with this, is my work done? Absolutely no, not yet. Reason, remember always I have sorted the month name, but this is the column that I have sorted. But the actual sorting should happen on the month. So I'm going to select the month, and there is an option here by sort by column. So I'll select this column and then select month name. I'm going to select the month name. So what is going to happen? This column here, month, will be sorted based upon the values that are being sorted on the month name. So now you put this in descending order, this will automatically set up. You put this in different order, this will automatically set up. So you don't need to do the extra work. Now with this, when I go back to the report view, you will see my months are set right from Jan, Feb, March, April, everywhere. You see now they are being set right. Now what I'm doing is I'm just going to put the format on the visual and then choose the x-axis, increase the font size of this. Okay. And similarly on the data labels, I'm also going to just increase the values. Okay. So this is what I have done on the line visual. Like how do I set this data? Just give it a try and then see if you're able to do the same thing and you could able to see the same result like me. Give me a confirmation once you're done. Great. So, as I said, this is how we have created the line chart, correct? So for this particular visual, when you look at the constant line, as I told you that you will see all the same constant lines here, but there is something called the y-axis constant line. Okay, there is no difference between the constant line or the y-axis constant line. It is the same thing. It is the same thing. However, it depends upon that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to just put a data. Okay, so here also you can use a conditional formatting. Rather, what I would say, the field value instead of the count of the month, I would just bring it this way, which is cost in the USD. I'm going to select the cost in USD and I'm just going to put an average and click OK. Now you see how the average line is automatically been added. Now this is something like an automatic. There is nothing that you're going to just push it. This is just an automatic. What I have done, I'm selected the visual, go to the constant line, and in the constant line, I have just used the FX, which is the conditional formatting, and I've used the field value, choose the cost in USD, and then change the summarization to average. Now you could say, can I add an average line directly instead of using this way? Yes, you can add an average line, which is automatically set up here. But as I told you, for the average line, what you need to do is you need to again do give a number here. Okay, so instead of doing the number, instead of giving a number, or let's say on the series average of the cost USD. Okay, and for a moment when I delete this constant line, okay, when I delete the constant line and when I go to the average directly, it also gives me the same thing. So I'm just going to change the color and then put this solid and give a data label also for this. It is the same thing. Now you can give it into both the ways. Either you can select the average line or either you can convert the constant line to an set to an average. But I have just shown you both the cases how it works in. Okay. So if you are using an average line directly, this is also one classic example to show how, I mean, for you to understand. will that calculate the average line or not? So this is how it calculates the average line. Okay. Now, what else I will be seeing here? So let me just give this here y-axis constant line so that you will remember the name. Okay. What else? As I told you, uh, see, you remember that we have also added the quarters like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Just take a look at this visual for a moment. I'm going to select this. I have selected the visual and you can see on the x-axis and y-axis I have given. Okay. And I'm not looking at any secondary y-axis. Rather, I'm going to look at the legend and the small multiple. In the small multiple, just take a look how this works in. So I'm going to bring the quarter into the small multiple. So what does this gonna happen? This is actually giving you for each of the quarter, the Q1 result, how your data is being configured for each of the month. Okay. For each of the month, how you can see the small multiples. So you can see the same graph has been divided by quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, and quarter four. So since the Q1 has only three sets, which is Jan, Feb, and March, you will see the values only for Q1. For Q2, it is April, May, June. So that's where you will see the data. Q3, July, August, September. Q4, October, November, and December. And for each of the quarter, again, it shows you the average. Is it understandable? Like you're able to understand and like how this graph has been plotted, right? So this is a different kind of view or visual that you can actually use on. Now, this is all I can just say you can use it on the line visual. Okay. Now I'm making a duplicate of this and I would mention this as area visual. Okay. I'm going to mention this as area visual and I'm going to select this visual and I'm going to remove the small multiples here. I'll just keep this like this, but I'm going to change this line visual to area visual now. No difference between line and area other than it's like, you see, this is how your area visual looks like. If you want, you can change the format here using this area. The colors, I'm just using a red in color and the shade area is also red in color automatically. And if I switch on the marker, you will see for each of this line, there is a marker added. So you can change the color of the markers also here. Like this. And the type you want, you can change this here like this, or you can keep an into mark, whatever you think that suits, you can use it the same. And coming back to the analysis, you will not see any analysis here apart from y-axis, minimum, max, average, median, and percentile. So there is no y-axis, minimum, maximum, average, median, and error bars are not there here. So even on the line visual, you'll not see the error bars. After you do this, give a control S so that the data is saved in. So now that you did see the visual, okay, for the area, now I'm just making a copy of this, make a duplicate, and instead of area, I would say this is 100% area, staked area chart. So let me rename the visual here. Okay, this is a 100% or let's say or staked area visual that's what you can say. Okay, and I'm just going to change this visual to staked area chart. You will not see any difference unless and until you add one more line item. So if I add the other line item here, this is average cost in the USD. So I'm going to bring um, aggregate rating also, or the count of the customers. So I'll bring count of the customer, or let's say the total cuisines. This is where your count of cuisines give you. If I change this to the count distinct, this is how it should look like. So this is the area chart, staked area visual. Okay. And again, on the analysis side, you will see only the y-axis constant line. You'll not see any other analysis lines here. So I'm just going to put y-axis constant line, and I would say staked area visual. Hope you are able to replicate the same. Right. So now I'm just making another duplicate of this visual, and we are going to look into the combo chart. Okay. We are going to look into the line and staked column chart, which is called the combo chart. So this is line and staked column chart. Okay. So just take a look at the visual. Now I'm just going to select this visual and then say line and staked column chart. So you have a different way of visualization here, which is one as a column y axis. Okay, the x-axis, which is on the month, and then column y-axis, which is having the average cost. But here, instead of count of cuisines keeping on the y-axis, okay, I'm going to bring either the average cost or cuisines onto y-axis. So I'm going to bring the average cost in USD brings onto the line y-axis. I'm just going to bring it. Okay. And I'm going to put it on the visual here. Just to make sure that the lines in between are looking good. So I'm going to put it on the um, y-axis. I'm just going to the lines. I'm changing the color of the line from red in color to black in color. If you want, you can check on the shade area like this if you want, or you can just leave it the same. And also on the data labels, if you want to bring some markings here, let's say, for example, the values are okay. So I'll use white only. And on the visual here, you're not going to find any kind of analysis apart from the error bar. So I'm just going to put this as error bars. And I'll say this line and state column visual. Let me know once you're able to do this well as well.
Done.
Great. So the same thing, you're just going to take another duplicate of this visual. And this time what we are going to do is we are going to see the 100%. I mean, this is a line and clustered column chart. So staked chart, in staked column chart, if you just take a look at the data, um, in the earlier bit, we have added few more information, right? So instead of this, let's say if I'm going to add an aggregate rating also. Okay, this is an aggregate rating I have just added, but you can see the data is in the black in color somewhere down. So for this to identify count of the quizzes, I'll put it in the red in color. Or either you can just reverse the stake order. This is how on the top it looks. On the top it looks black in color on the top. Okay. If I give spacing a little bit, you might be able to see. Now I will just keep it here. Right. So making a stick, making a duplicate of this. So this is a cluster column name. This is a column chart. So here what we are going to do is I'm just going to add the same thing like KPI aggregate rating. And instead of the sum, I'll just mention this as an average so that I'll go to the y-axis. Sorry, I'm going to the columns again. Count of the quizzes. I'm just keeping it in the red in color. So this is how you will see the line and staked, sorry, line and clustered column chart. And the constant lines, again, you are having the error bars. Okay. So then let's look at the another visual. I'm just making a duplicate of this page. Okay. Now, so far, these are the charts that you are, or the visuals that you are looking at. And these visuals are like a kind of same visuals that you are aware of even earlier. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, you have dealt these visuals even in your Excel file, correct?
Mhm.
But here, what you are going to see here, this is called a ribbon visual. Like this is a kind of a new visual that you are going to see. Okay, a simple kind of a new visual. So uh, just watch my screen for a minute. Do not do anything, and then you can replicate it back because this needs a bit of little bit of understanding. This needs a little bit of understanding. Okay, so let's see how this is going to just work on the ribbon visual. So I'm going to select this visual and then straightly click on the ribbon chart. Okay, now we have got a lot of information, so I'm just going to remove all this information. I'm going to retain average cost in the USD, and I have plotted the x-axis. Okay, this on the x-axis you're going to see the month, and on the y-axis we are going to see the average of the cost in USD. Till then it is good. Now what the extra thing that we are going to do is we are going to bring the quarter. Okay, and we are bringing the quarter onto the legends here. We are bringing the quarter onto the legend. Okay, so if you look at let me see, this is okay, just a minute. Okay, let's not do the month again. Let me put in the another way. I'll remove the month and let me bring by continent. This is good. If I see by the continent, this looks much more better. Okay, so if I look at the ribbon chart here, how does it explain, right? So this is explaining by, okay, here I'm going to just sort the axis by continent. Okay, and let me put this by again descending order. So Asia, so Africa, Asia, Europe, Nam, Oceania. Each of the continent, for each of the continent, what it does on the ribbon visual, Q1 denotes blue in color, Q2 denotes dark blue, Q3 orange, and then Q4 it is in a let's say purple color. Okay, so what does this indicate? In Africa region, Q4 sales or Q4 average cost in the USD is higher, and the same Q4 when it is compared in Asia, it is standing at third level, and again in the Europe it is at the top level. Okay, and in NAM it is top, and again in Oceania it is third, and in SAM it is in the second position. So Q4 numbers look, in Africa it is the first position, Asia third, Europe it is top, and NAM top. Similarly, if I look at the quarter one, Africa is Q1 doing, I mean, Q1 is in the second position. Similarly, Q2, I mean, Q1 is in the second position of Asia, and it is in the third position in Europe. And again, it is second in NAM, and also again last in Oceania and SAM. See each continent, each of the result, how it is being varying or how it can be compared in terms of their position from one continent to another continent. How does it work? This is what exactly that you can actually show in the, I mean, on the ribbon visual.
Okay.
So do it on your sheet and then see if you can able to see do the same thing. And this doesn't have any kind of analysis. No I mean, no analysis.
Yes, done.
Right? So you're able to understand this, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm making a copy of this and I'll rename this as the waterfall visual. Again, just watch my screen on the waterfall visual and then again you can replicate back. Okay. So instead of ribbon chart, now this time I'm going to bring the waterfall chart. Okay. Just put the waterfall. Now let me tell you how the waterfall is looking, or let's say how is it actually doing up. So on the waterfall chart, especially you look for the category. What is that you're categorizing your data, and how you're going to break down your data, and what data you're that breaking down. Data based upon your database, or what is it you're breaking down the data. So category wise, this is your category. Okay. Each of the continent you're bringing the category, and then breakdown, you're bringing the breakdown by the quarter, and then y-axis is the average of the cost in USD. Now, what is that and how is the information being actually done? So if you look at that, the total average, the total average for the month of, or let's say for the continent Africa, it is 27.35. So let me remove this, I mean, these things here. Y-axis, let me switch off y-axis. Let me also remove the title. Right. So let me explain this how it works. In the total average for the month of, I mean, the total average for the continent on the whole year put together, it is 27.35. Let's say for all the quarters, and 9.16 for Asia. Okay. Now, when it is plotting the difference between these two, how it is plotting based upon each of the quarter. So if you look at the Q2, what does this indicate? Q2 from Africa till Asia, the data is actually going down. So if you look at this, average of the cost in USD for Africa and the USD for Asia, in between these two, you can see it is reduced to around 14.39. It is reduced to around 14.39,
Yes.
right? Similarly, if it is on the Q3, you will see the Q3 is furthermore decreased, and Q4, Q1 between these two, it has been decreased, and Q4 it is decreased. Overall, between Africa and Asia, if you look at the quarter results, comparing their quarter results, okay, it is growing down. It is going down. So the percentage it is going down, it is also plotting it here. So you can see Q4 is doing very worst between both the continents, from Africa to Asia. Or if you still think this is not okay to look at, or the way it is showing up, okay, you can put the breakdown like this. You can interchange the results. So you can put the continent here. Let's say I'm going to bring the quarter, and then I'm going to bring the continent. You see, this is another way. Between Q2 and Q4, how it is being increasing. Okay. On the waterfall, what you are going to just see is to give a comparison between two different pillars and bifurcating based upon your months or quarters or year. It shows either you're increasing or either you're decreasing. So it also doesn't have any further analysis.
Okay.
Just give it a try and see. Let me know once you're able to plot it and that you're able to understand the same thing.
Yes, it's done.
All right. So let's look at next new visual, which you'll be again aware of. I mean, this is also a new kind of representation, and what we call this as funnel chart. Okay, so I'm going to the visuals and then select the funnel visual here. Now on the funnel visual, what you are gonna see here is I'll put it to the side. And anyways, it doesn't have any kind of analysis. But again, if you are looking at the same data, just a minute. Right. Sorry, Joyce. Yeah. So if you look at the funnel chart, what we have just done is the same thing. If you look at the same visual, again, it shows the category. So on the category, on the first level, you are seeing the quarter. And instead of the continent, I'm just going to remove everything. I'm just going to put the quarter and the average sales. So if you look at that, it says the Q2 sales are very higher when compared to the Q3 because Q3 is the smaller. So this is arranged in a descending order. So the bar here on the top, it shows the 100% value for the highest value. And compared to the lowest value, what is the percentage of the level? It is 90.707% compared to 11.46, which is 10.40. This is what it shows. Now, if you want to add a more information to this, let's say, for example, this is by quarter. If I want to bring by month, okay, now it further bifurcates into the month. So as I told you, if you need to click on the drill value, since the hierarchy has been enabled, and if I click on the Q1, okay, then it says what is a Q1 sales, Q1 sale, like Jan, Feb, and March. And again, just bifurcating, when I click on the Q2, since this is the highest, it shows what is the value for the April, May, or June. Okay, so this is in a descending order, ascending order. But here you can put this in terms of here you can put this in terms of the quarter. Not descending. I'm just putting the descending. Okay, so this is how it looks like. and there is no further analysis again on this. You can keep on adding more information here, like year on year also you can add it. So based upon the data that you keep on adding, it will tell you how the statistics are looking at. This is a very simple chart, but the representation matters. Just give it a try and then see if you're able to do this.
Yes, done.
right? Sorry. So this is on the funnel visual. So now I'm just making a duplicate of this. Okay. And here I'm just going to put visuals like pie and downnet and gauge visual. Okay. Gauge visual.
Okay.
Is sorry, Joyce. I didn't see that I'm on mute. I was just doing something here. Right. So we are talking about the pie chart, donut chart, and then the gauge visuals here. Okay. So on the gauge, and then on the pie chart, probably this is a very legacy way that you have been working on the Excel file, and there is no difference between the Excel pie chart or the Power BI pie chart, except one thing. What is in Excel, you might find that when you load more number of information, when you are loading more number of information, or less number of information, yes, the pie chart looks very absolutely great. But in Power BI, the moment once you load a large number of data, you can see how the auto adjustments are being happening. For example, if I remove the continent and then bring in by country for a while, so you see, you don't need to actually do any formatting stuff here. This gets automatically formatted, which looks absolutely greater than the Excel visual. But again, the second difference, what you will not find, you will not see any 3D visual here. You'll just see a simple pie visual. Okay, very simple pie visual, but you don't need to do your extra formatting here. So I'm just keeping the continent so that you will see the difference between a lot of data. Okay, so this is the continent information that I'm just plotting. Okay, so this is on the pie visual. Now, the same visual where again I make a copy and then paste over it here and then keeping it to the next side. So this is the donut, right? Only the only visual matters between both the places. Like one shows in a full circle, the other one shows in a donut circle. So this is how your pie and donut chart looks like.
Okay.
That's the only difference. And yes, there are no further analysis for both pi and donut. Okay, no further analysis. So I'm just keeping this visual bit here. Now, what else you are going to see is the next bit where you are going to just see this is a new one, which is called the after the pi and down net, I'm straightly getting into the gauge chart. Okay. So since all these belongs to the same family, but they're of different format, right? So I'm just using the gauge chart here on the same visual. So on the gauge visual, what you're going to see, I'm just selecting this and then select the gauge visual. Okay. So let me give you a brief understanding about the gauge visual, like how does it work and what exactly the gauge visual will actually help you. How does it actually help you? So on the first thing, as I told you, it doesn't give you any analysis. See, usually gauge chart and metrics chart, the one very first in the beginning I have told you, and also the error bars. It needs to have more number of databases over it. So what are the different kinds of databases? So try to do not get confused over what am I doing here. Do not try to get confused. Just watch the screen for a minute and then see if this makes bit of sense or not. Okay. Since I'm not having different database, I'm going to use the same data set, but in a different methodologies. For example, the cost in USD, I'm just going to bring it here. Instead of sum, I would say minimum cost of the USD. And again, bringing the cost USD, they're like maximum. As I told you, it needs to have around four different kinds of data sets. One is your original value, one is your minimum value, one is your maximum value, and what is the target value. So am I good on the target value or not? So I'm using a standard deviation or let's say median for this. Okay. Um, let's see anything standard deviation or minimum. Or let me do this way. Usually I'll not use the cost in USD. Rather, let me do this one. I'll remove all this for you to see the gauge looks much more better. I'll bring the KPI aggregate rating. So I'll put the average KPI aggregate rating and the minimum value and maximum aggregate rating. The target value also we should usually have a separate data, but I'm just keeping the target value as median. Let's say, for example, this is what I have brought in. Okay. And I'm just going to put a format of the visual like colors. Fill color will be red and the target color will be in black. Okay. Now for the same visual, I'm going to bring year as a slicer, or let's say the continent itself as a slicer. I'm just going to change this visual to the slicer. Okay. Now just take a look at this. The same data, it's a single data. It's not a multiple data. It's a single data. Rather, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play around with the same data in a different methodologies. Like the same data, I'm just bringing the average, minimum value out of it, maximum value, and the target value. In your real-time scenario, your data might you should have all this database, so it looks much more easier. But here in this case, what I'm going to do. So when I go to the continent Africa, I see that the minimum average rating is 3.40 and the maximum aggregate rating given is 4.90 and my target is 4.20 and I could see that I'm reaching or crossing more than my target. Similarly, if I go to Asia, I could see that I'm still running behind my target. And if I go to the Europe, I'm still very close to the target. Similarly on the NAM, I'm exactly on dot to the target. Oceania, this is behind the target. And in the SAM, looks like we are still behind the target, far behind the target. Okay. But in your real-time scenario, you need to have all this data sets so that it is easy for you to denote or identify what are the different kinds of data sets you have. Like if you have a minimum, maximum, target, and also um, a real-time value, the gauge charts will be one best representation that you can use. Okay. Like in representation, these are very simple. So far, whatever you have learned are simple kind of visuals and straight visuals. So you should be able to understand this bit. So give a try the pi down at and then gauge chart and then see if you're able to replicate the same. And let me know if you have any question on this.
Okay.
Okay, in the sense like, yeah, give it a try and then see. Yeah.
Yes, it's done.
All right, Joyce, that's good. So let's move on to the next visual. So I'm just making a duplicate of this page, and I'm just going to keep this visual as a tree map. Okay, so this is the simple, I mean, this is one of the new visuals that you might have experienced it in Office 365, and maybe not, but still, yeah, we can just take a look at this. So I'm going to remove these visuals here, and I'm just going to retain one text. Right, I'm just going to, all right, come on, select this. So instead of the gaze visual, I'll just mention this as a tree map and just put it at this corner. Right. So what is a tree map visual like the other visuals? Is there anything better on the representation? Right. So when you're presenting this on a presentation like a PPT, or you're presenting it on your screen, and people who are looking from farther behind, they can easily identify what kind of statistics that you are showing. Okay, so this is what the statistics that it is going to show up. Like, what is that on the tree map? So when I click on the tree map visual, okay, it creates a complete visual over here. And the same like how you found in the waterfall, right? Or in the ribbon chart, you're going to put the same sort of data here. But the levels are simple. The category, you can just put a category, like what kind of category that you're looking at. So let's say I'm going to put a category by continent. So we have got 6 continents, and the details, you're going to put the details, leave it for now. And then on the value side, you're just going to bring the cost in USD and then convert this to the average cost in the USD. Okay. Now, when I look at the average cost in the USD for each of the continent, this says, I looking at this visual itself, I can identify, okay, Europe is holding higher rate of higher cost, and then Asia is showing the lowest cost. Like how it works in Europe has the highest, followed by the Oceania, and then by Africa, and then NAM, and then SAM, and then Asia. Okay. So this is how each of the continent data is being actually showing. Now, further more details, if you want to bifurcate, you can actually add each of the quarter, how the data looks like. These are the details. So now you can see within the Europe, the Q4 stands higher. And when I hover the mouse on the details page, you can see the average cost in the USD is there. Now, if you want to add more information, let's say, for example, I want to add the aggregate rating also. So I can bring the aggregate rating onto the tool tips. And then this says average cost. And then similarly, if you also look at the other information like the total number of cuisines, you can add the total number of cuisines, and maybe you can just give a count distinct of the cuisines. So what is going to happen? You're not going to see these two onto the data, but when I hover the mouse, you can see them on the details like average cost is $68, and the aggregate rating given is 4.19, and the total number of cuisines that it holds in the Q4 is 21. So this is a tree map visualization where it is just going to block your data as per the total amount, or let's say as per the highest number. It is going to block that area. And within that also, if you want to see further more details, this is how you can represent the data. So most likely, I would say the tree map visuals are much easier to identify, but when you want to put this in a slide and then show to people, it's very, very easier and looks much more better. Okay. So just give a try on this visual, and there are no analysis on this, and then see how it works in.
Okay. It's done.
Right, good, Joyce. So now let's move on to the next visual. So this is a tree map visual that you saw till here. And scatter chart, I'll teach you, I mean, I'll give you the insights over the scatter chart later, because we need to deal with another example on the scatter chart. Okay. And rest looks like uh, much more easier.
Shrikant, shall we have a break for a while?
Sure, no problem. Okay, then let's take around 15 minutes break. I will connect with you back again. Okay. All right. Thank you. Hi, Joyce. Yeah. I'll start. Sorry. Today you are punctual. I'm just here and there. Sorry. Okay. So let me start this back. Okay. So we are there till tree map earlier. Okay. Now let's look at the next visual. This is this new visual, what you are seeing right now, what you are going to see right now. This visual, you already have witnessed this earlier. However, what this visual, we call it as multi-row card. Okay. This is called multi-row card, not cards. Sorry. Multi-row card visual. Okay. So I'm going to just remove this and I'm going to bring the same name, multi-row card visual. So multi-row card visual is nothing but the first visual on the first home page. You have created one particular visual, which is a card visual. So if you remember, these are the card visual, all right? So the same thing, but you are just going to see the same in a multi-row card. So I'm going to bring this here. Okay. Like when I click on the multi-row card visual, you'll see this. So let me just do this one. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to the home page, select this card visual here and select the format painter. And I'm going to the last sheet, which is multi-row card. And I'm going to put a format painter on this. Right. Now what you're going to see is this will have only one particular field or let's say one particular field called the field value. You're just going to put the field values here. Just say, for example, you can put the cost in USD and again you can put the aggregate rating, or you can either you can just put it as instead of sum, you can just mention this as an average and you can bring the average aggregate rating here and then you can bring the cuisines and you can bring in the continents as well. Okay. Now, if I bring this visual here and expand it more, you are going to see the multi-route card visual like this. However, this visual is exactly the same thing like what you can see as a table. The table visual, okay, how you can see the table visual. This is exactly looks like the same thing, but this is called the multi-row card. This is just called the multi-row card. Okay, wherein you are going to see the statistics for each of that. Is it so useful? I would say this can be useful when you are uh, plotting a certain information like a, a column chart or a bar chart, and then below that, instead of the table, you can use a multi-row card also. So that gives you the statistics, like kind of additional statistics that you want to bring. You can bring some additional statistics. And there are no kind of analysis for this. It's just a multi-row card where you're going to see multiple rows in a card visual. Simple.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to save this. And now that what I'm going to do is to make a duplicate. But when I make a duplicate, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a duplicate of the pie, donut, and gauge visual. I'm making a duplicate of this. Okay. And I'm going to mention this as KPI visual. This is called the KPI visual. Now I'm going to delete the visuals on the top and I'm going to remove this also. And let me retain the continent here and I'll keep the continent here. And let me expand this a little more. I can also do it this way. I can remove this visuals and probably I can buy the visual. I can take the visual from the very first thing. This set I'm going to copy and I'm going to put it on the KPI visual and don't sync. I would say this is the KPI visual. Let's look at the KPI statistics for this also, how it works. So what does a KPI visual will have? So you would have known about this or heard about this called the key performance indicator areas. Okay, the key performance indicator areas. So for every, let's say, in a let's talk in a real time scenario. In a just so in the real time scenario, what happens usually on the KPI? Let's say, for example, if you're a team lead or a manager, then you would like to measure your people in terms of like when it comes to their appraisals. You don't just give them a rating like, okay, you have been given 3 or you've been given 4 or you'll be given 3.3. So there should be a justification behind that. Okay. So the justification, how does the justification happen? Justification happens with your data, right? So again, when we talk about the data, where the data comes in, the data comes in terms of how much a person can be evaluated based on certain measures, correct?
Yes.
So what you will do, you will define certain measures. Let's say, for example, Lakshmi, you are going to measure Lakshmi's performance. So you will say, okay, you have 4 areas that you need to work on. Let's say you need to run a daily report. You need to bring some new methodologies, and then you might have to monitor your tickets. You need to handle those many tickets. These are certain indicators. And for each of the indicator, you will say you have certain target values. If it is a total number of tickets that you need to handle in a day, you will say, okay, you'll fix a target. You need to handle around 20 tickets on a daily, and you need to bring 3 new ideas onto your role. And your daily reports, you need to run around 15 reports on a daily basis. So this is your indication. And on an average, you will say, okay, daily, this is your target. And then next to that, you will measure either on a daily, you will track my date. Okay, today how many tickets I have handled, how many things I have brought in. Maybe the improvements might be overall in a month, you might have to bring 3 different improvements. So we'll measure, right? So you will have a target value, and then again you will measure, am I reaching to the target? So based upon the target value, did I reach or not? Only then, sorry, only then you should be able to measure a person and then arrive to the statistics by calculating all these measures and then give a like total number of total target achieved by the base value. That is what you are going to evaluate. That is how we are going to evaluate. And based on that, you will see, am I reaching the target or not? This is usually what you do. Same thing in KPI also, you'll have the same thing. And why am I bringing from the gauge chart specifically? Gauge chart, KPI, all these charts will have the same similar kind of data. So now I'm going to select this gauge, convert this to a KPI. Okay. Now on this, what is that I'm going to do is average of the KPI aggregate rating is okay. Trend axis and the target axis. Instead of the target, I would say, instead of the minimum or maximum, I would just mention this as a median. Let's say, for example, I'm keeping this as a median. And now I have an average value. Let's say this is my real time value and my target value is the target that you have set for me. But what is the axis? When I say axis, Either it is a month axis or a month trend or year, or how is that I'm going to work on. Let's say, for example, I'm going by year. For example, just take a look how it works in. So total on a, okay, year is not a good number. I'll bring in quarters. Just take a look at this graph for a minute. Okay. Now, can I ask you, like, as you, when you observe this, is there anything that you identified? Like, what is that you understood? Anything? Just looking at the graph, like, what is that you understood?
Yeah, the goal should be 3.20, but we have achieved 2.70. So the lacking is 15.7%.
Very good. And since I have told you the trend is on the quarter, we have got 4 quarters of the data. Like, this
Only
is my start point,
mhm.
Q1, let's say, Q2, Q3, and then Q4. So there are 4 points that have been added. However, if you ask me, is it going by trend like Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4? Is that the same trend it is being following? I would say at this point in time, yes, because here I don't see even the act, it is based upon the axis. Okay, it is based upon the act. Earlier I would say, but now I cannot still say it is based upon the axis. But on an overall picture, if you look at that, my goal is 3.20, but I'm still behind the target. Now let's say, for example, when I filter the data for NAM, okay, it still says 3.99, which is still 1% behind the goal. Let's say if I'm going to the Oceania, I'm still behind the goal. Even in the SAM, you look at that, the goal is 4.30, but I'm reached the target to 4.32. Correct?
Yes.
Now, if I go to Africa, yeah, I could see it is green color, but in Asia, it is red in color, right? This is a simple way, but overall, looking at overall all the continents here, we haven't still reached to the goal. But in your real-time scenario, if you have the data for, if you have a target value and then you also have values that are being captured and the trend, then you will see your real-time scenario. Since this is an example, I'm using the same data and using the median of the data. Got it? So KP, this is how, as simple as it. It just helps you to understand either you reached to the goal or you haven't reached to the goal. Simple.
Okay.
Just give a try on your system. You plot it and then see.
Okay.
You are going to see similar kind of visuals maybe in the next coming three visuals or two visuals. Okay, kind of. You're just going to see the same thing, kind of. But these are like different kinds of representations, the same data within a different kinds of representations.
Okay, it's done.
Good. Now let me make a copy of this, and now the next visual that we are going to see, this is key influencer, because we already did see the slicer, table, matrix. R and Python I'm not covering up because this requires a special installation. So I'm not covering up the R and Python. So I'm just getting into the key influencer. I would say you might be little confused about this key influencer. Little. Okay. So I'll just keep this also key influencer. Let's see how we can just make sure the key influencer will be, because again, usually what happens on the key influencer concept, this is, I would say, a bit hard to understand, but also sometimes it is easier to understand. I would give you in terms of the data that we are dealing with here, but again, you can practice with your own data. Maybe it makes more sense and you might get more insights over it. So just try looking at this and then see if you're able to understand. Okay. So if I
Okay.
convert this to a key influencer, the same thing, the same KPI visual, I'm just converting it to the key influencer. Let's see. It just say no influencers found about it. So I'm just okay with this, and I'm okay, and I'm just okay with this. Usually what happens on the analyze bit. So I want to analyze my customer, or let's say I want to analyze by cuisines and explain the same thing by cost in USD and also by continent. Let me add more this thing. Right. So let us just look at this very simple thing, and then let's see how if you are able to understand well and good. Let's see. I'm going to analyze the average cost of the USD. Okay. I'm just going to analyze the average cost in the USD. I'm going to look out the insights over it. Now explaining by the continent, okay, as well the average of the KPI aggregate rating. So why average of the KPI aggregate rating? So normally you know very well that uh, I mean in the earlier bits, if you did see, let's say line and staked, let's say for example, the okay, not this one. Let's look at this one, bar chart. You can see that the average aggregate, I believe that I have brought the average aggregate rating only. I'm just guessing. Average aggregate rating. So now you can see the average aggregate rating for Africa, it is 27.35 and the rating is 4. And Europe, it is higher, but the average rating is also given as 4. Asia, it is least and it is given as 3. Now let's look at the same thing on the key influencer. Okay. Now what does it say on this particular visual? What influences the average cost of the USD to increase? Okay. It tells us why the average aggregate rating cost is getting actually increased. For what reason it is getting increased? Okay. So in the earlier chart, we saw it is 65. Now we just wanted to see why is it increasing at 65? It says the average of the KPI aggregate rating goes up to 0.56. So if you look at the trend, when it is 2.5, the average rating is very less. In Asia, it has been rated and the average aggregate rating is given as 2.56. If you ask me, uh, in the earlier graph, why is it showing 3? Reason it is showing 3 because it is in the whole number, correct? If it is in a decimal number, probably you might connect it more. Let's see on the bar chart, the decimal word we have brought in, correct? So let's see um, the value data label. Let me try this. Right. Now I change this to decimal values 2. Now, do you see in this particular visual, the Asia, it is at 9.16 and it is 2.56. Now, next to that, if it is 3.76, the average aggregate rating is closely increased to 24.24.
Yes.
Now, again, if I go to 4, which is after 3.76, even if you compare the dollar value, is it increasing to 26.24?
Mm-hmm.
And after that, 4.04. Now, from 26, it rose to 38. And again, from 4.09, it is 65. Unfortunately, what happened only in the Africa region, 27.35, it became at 4.22, which means it is absolutely decreased and was averaged somewhere when there is a rating between 4 and 3.76. Now, the same picture you're actually seeing in the key influencer. How is it you're seeing in the key influencer? Okay, let me try formatting this back. See, when I look at this visual, it says average of the KPI aggregate rating is going up to 0.56. Aggregate rating it is 2.5, 3.5, 3, 3.5, 4.5. On a scale of 0.56, it is increasing. Now you can see when it is 2.5, the average aggregate rating it is shown in $2.9 it is in Asia. Similarly, again, you can see that Sam has got 3.76. Now it is 4 point high, which is 4.9 at a 65. But again, when it comes to the highest, which is 4.22, it is 27.35. So based on that, what it says, on an average, when the aggregate rating increases, the average cost is also increasing. Do you infer the same thing on the bar chart earlier? Did you understand the same thing on your bar chart?
Yes, yes.
You understood now this key influencer, how it is actually showing?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, similarly, if I see the decrease in this, okay, if I run for a decrement, It is giving me the reverse method, nothing. It is just giving me the reverse method. And also it shows the same statement. Average aggregate rating decreases, average cost is also decreasing. Simple. Does this statement match with your bar chart?
Yes.
Now let's look at the other way around. Now this is on the key influencer. So with this you can understand, you can identify. Let's say if you're where do you understand this? For example, you can give an as an example, which department do you work for, Joyce?
Computer science.
So faculty.
Yes.
Okay. So if you are interested to see why your people, why your audience marks are going high on a quarter on average, if you want to see a trend, why is it going high? Now, if you take a survey, you might not have done it, but I'm just giving you an idea. You take a survey. On a survey, let's say around 6 people like Joyce have there in the computer faculty. Now you take a survey and take the survey in different kinds of forms. Like, is Lisa, let's say Joyce teaching is good, or Joyce's material is good, or the way she delivers is good, her presentation skills are good. Usually, the moment once you go for any training session, these are the points that you will be seeing, right? Overall content, how it is good, is it useful, will you be able to put in practice, is the material given good, is the facultator knowledgeable or not, different kinds of elements. Now, why all these points are collected? Based upon all these points, you are going to analyze in which area you can improvise and in which area you will not improvise. So, which is your standard? Let's say your teaching skills are absolutely good and your every student have rated you around 5 out of 5. So you don't need to worry about it. But when your teaching skill is perfect, then obviously that will show in the output that your people will also score better marks. Does it make sense?
No.
No. Why?
Must check with the other scenario, no?
You want another example?
No. The survey is taken with the other things also, no?
Exactly.
Effectively.
I mean, that you will be taking in different ways. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
giving you some example, sample example. Let's say, for example, there are 6 faculty. Okay. For example, you have 6 faculty, and there are 5 questions that you are taking. Question one, your overall training. Question two, faculty teaching, mode of teaching. Four, material. Five, let's say knowledge faculty. Okay. For example, there are 6 faculty and there are 5 trainees. Or let's say this is like too much. Let's bring around 3 faculty. There are 6 trainees. Okay. So you have taken feedback for each one of the trainee for each one of the faculty. So how many responses you will have?
18.
Perfect. 18 responses you have. So out of the 18 responses, what you are going to find out, okay, for each, how many faculty has been, for each one of the faculty, you will see uh, what is the overall training and everything, correct? So for each faculty and for each of the participant, you are getting a feedback, correct? Now,
Mm.
overall, how do you identify to correlate is when is your trainee giving you a higher rating? Just imagine when is your trainee giving a high rating? In which point you might notice that it is based upon your faculty teaching or based upon your knowledge of the faculty. It depends upon
Overall,
how they're giving
overall,
the overall. It could be anything, correct?
yeah.
So this data can be analyzed on the key influencer. this data can be analyzed in the Q influencer to see for each of the faculty. So in this case, I'm going to analyze, what is that I'm going to analyze is the overall rating, and let's say explained by each of the faculty, or let's say by each of your participant and your faculty. It will give you where your training is going good or where your training is not good.
Yeah.
As I
Okay.
told you, with your real-time scenario, you can experience it more. But in this case, we are just seeing why the average aggregate rating is going higher. Now there are segments. Now on the segments, Power BI gives you an information about this based upon the segments that you are giving. However, since there are no segments, it is not there. So I'm not giving you any example. Or let's say by continent, this is okay. And then let's say I'll go by country also, for example. Okay. Now here I didn't see anything. But if you look at this, okay. Now this is giving more depth, in depth by the country also. Within the continent, within the country, what are the average rating it is giving? It is showing you the results. The moment once you keep adding more information, it will give you more information on the detail page.
Okay.
Just plot this graph and then see if you're able to see the results.
Sure. Yes, it's done.
It's done. Very good. So I'll just put a control S here. And I'm going to duplicate this page. Okay. And I'm going to rename this as a decomposition tree. Composition tree. Now you might correlate here. You might correlate here. Whatever we have done on the key influencer, you might also correlate here. So let's see what are the statistics that you can see on the decomposition tree. So let me rename this to decomposition. Decomposition. Gave the wrong. Okay. On the decomposition tree, what you're going to see is I'm just going to change this visual from key influencer to decomposition. So on the decomposition tree, what you're going to take a look. Let me format this properly. Positive bar, red color, negative bar, sorry, black कलर रखेंगे. तो देखो, तो यहाँ पे भी यही कर रहे हैं हम कि sorry, what we are doing to do here is we are again looking at the average of the KPI aggregate rating. So overall aggregate rating is 2.67. This is what we are showing up, and then explained by country and then the continent. Let's say continent and then country, for example. Now I would like to see 2.67 is the average overall aggregate rating. Now I would like to see which of the continent is doing good or not. So I'm looking at the highest value and the lowest value of the continent. Let's say I'm click on the low value. So the moment once it expands, it is expanding and showing me, see, each of the continent. Okay, this is by country master. Sorry, my bad. It should be continent. So each of the continent you can see that it is contributing like this. 4.22 Europe, 4.09, 4.04 NAM, SAM 3.76, and Asia it is 2.56. Okay, so it is how it is contributing. Now I could see that Asia is contributing lesser. So which means because of Asia, my average is hit to 2.67. Now the same thing again within Asia, I would like to see within the Asia, I would like to see again, how is it bifurcated? So I'll give the lowest value for the Asia. Okay. So when I click on this, you can see that the bar it is connecting, it is showing, okay, because of India given 2.52 rating, the influence is based, I mean, it is influencing on the overall average as 2.67. Understood this?
Yeah. Yes.
Now again, within this, again, if you want to bring the cities also and then see where is it actually contributing, click on this, you will see the cities also. Okay, India is doing like this, and then when I click on the city, overall, you will see, okay, for each of the city, how it is contributing. So step by step, you are going to see where your data is actually going down or going up, or how is it actually working on. Okay.
Okay.
Now do this on your sheet also. It shouldn't take much time.
It's done.
Very good. Right. So far we have covered all the visuals. Okay. Apart from the scatter chart, I'll do it on the next class with another example. And what else I have left over in between is R and Python. As I told you, this needs a bit of coding knowledge. And also, uh, like, what is this actually used for? The same visual that you are creating, that you can create it through using the Python. But unfortunately, you need to have one more component that needs to be installed. Now, apart from this, what else is left over? You have question and answer that we are going to just take a look. So I'm going to make a duplicate of this page, and I'm going to put this as a Q&A. Q&A, Q&A might be a little interesting. Okay. And it doesn't require any kind of slicers or anything. So I'm just going to remove these two guys. I'll keep this Q&A analysis down and then expand this little more. So let me convert this visual directly to the Q&A. I didn't remember that this is the last class today. Sorry. Okay, let's look at this. Then I'll try to give you the scatter chart cutting as an example. Okay, probably you can just take a look because scatter chart needs a more and more kind of information. But let's see. We can. I'll try to get this done. So
Okay.
on the format to your visual, I'll just. mm, I mean, the color question field. I will put this default background color. I'll just put this on the red color and then see what else you can just see on the top. And then We'll leave it like this. That's fine. All right. So let me explain you what exactly is a Q&A visual talking about. So on the Q&A, let's understand first why Q&A visual. Okay. Simple background to just give you about this. I believe that these days you might be using some banking websites or any other website. Most frequent website that you might have browsing. Tell me any one of the website that you must be browsing very frequently. Don't tell me Google. Something else.
Daily hunt.
Daily hunt. Anything else? Okay. You say daily hunt. Let me look at this daily hunt. Even I didn't try this earlier. Mm-mm. Malayalam news, huh? Okay. पुरिயுது. डेली हंट में क्या है, कुछ है कि नहीं? नहीं. ठीक है. IRCTC, do you use this anytime?
Yes, yes, we can use.
Hmm. So when I go to the IRCTC portal, what do you see the contents over there? Let's say I need to click on IRCTC, not my Modi. Let's look at this one, generating ticketing system. For example, you see this portal here, correct?
Yeah.
And if I want to book, let's say go to any one of the what the scattering one. Okay, let's look at this book e-ticket IRCTC for example. यहाँ पे कुछ भी नहीं चल रहा है. Fine, I'll go to any one of the banking website. Let's say I'll go to the ICC banking website. Now here I'm there at the banking website, correct? On this banking website, you have got n number of links here, correct?
Yeah.
Now, apart from all these n number of links that you already have, for example, you have applied for a credit card and you want to see the credit card status. Then what will you do? You will have to look for, usually you'll go to the cards and then look for credit card and then see what are the options that it is giving you, correct? Let's say you are very new to the website, any new to the website and you don't know. What will happen? You can observe there is something called here, Ask IPAL. Do you see this? What is this called?
Which one? Where is your cursor?
Okay, here, do you see this? Ask IPAL.
Ah,
Do you see
yes,
the
yes,
circle? Do you see the
yes,
circle? Yeah. So when I click on the task IPAL, what does happen? What does it came in? It came in as a virtual assistant.
yes.
So in the virtual assistant, what happens? Okay, I'll ask, I need to see, let's say, for example, I'm just typing bank balance. Okay, I'll give enter. Does it show me any bank balance here? What is my bank balance? No, right?
No.
What does it tell you? Fine, if you want to see the bank balance, okay, do one thing. You may call a you may give a missed call number, or you can go to your bank. Alternatively, you can use the iMobile.
Mm.
Is it actually telling you what is your exact number? No, but it is actually telling you how do you check your thing, correct?
Yes.
For example, if I want to have a personal loan, does it give me a personal loan directly? No, it will ask me, okay, do you know the rate of interest and what are the services that we do? How do I close? So most frequent asked questions. And again, okay, let's say if I want to select any one of this question, now again it is picking up. Okay, please click here to know the changes or charges onto the personal loan. So
No.
is there any direct answer it is giving? No, it is actually just giving you the link, or it tells you how do you look into that, correct? It is
Step by step
assisting you,
work.
right?
Yeah.
It is just assisting you. That is what it is called, the virtual assistant. Correct?
Mm. Mm.
So virtual assistant will actually help you in understanding how do you look into your data and how do you arrive to that your question, your answer for the question that you're looking out for. Correct?
Okay, yes.
Similarly, in this, the question and answer is also the same thing, but this question and answer is completely uh, or limited over only to the database that you are holding. When I say database, what database it is holding? The tables that you already have loaded within this, the tables that you already have loaded within this, it is going to give you an answer only for the set of uh, tables that you have loaded within the data within this particular report. Understood?
Yeah. Yes.
If you ask what who is the Prime Minister of India, it will not tell you. Reason, that is out of box. It will only tell how many total number of columns I have or anything like or any column data that you are looking out for. It will tell you the data from within the particular field. Now, how do I use this? In fact, how do I use this? There are different ways. First, the moment once you click on the Q&A visual, you can see there are certain questions which are already predefined. So these are called the suggested questions. Okay, these are suggested
Okay.
questions. So what is that? When I click on what is the average KPIs dot vote, for example, when I click on this, what is that it is going to do? It is actually going to give you an answer below. In this place, it is going to give you an answer like what exactly is the number. So it calculated and tell you that the average KPI vote is 156.89,
Mm-hmm.
like an instant result. So what is going to happen? You have created around 14 pages or 15 pages of report and you submitted this report to your manager. What your manager will say, he will say, can you create another one more visual for me to get this statistics? Can you create two more visuals for me to show how this can be um, plotted onto the data? Usually this is what people will do. How much ever you give the data, people will come back with additional inputs always every time. Correct? So
Yes.
for those people, what you can do, you can actually use the Q&A and tell them, boss, you can actually try using the Q&A and then see if you can, so that it can give you the instant result. Now, the first thing, how do you use the Q&A? I'm going to teach you wherein you can furthermore give the same instructions. See, I'll pick any one of the visuals here. Okay, let me pick one of the visual. Let's say I'll go to the pie chart and gauge visual. You remember when we plot the visual, there is a title which is added here on the top. Do you observe these titles?
Mm.
Correct. Now the same title, how it is being given. Let's say average of cost in USD by continent. Okay. Now
Okay.
I'll go to the question and answer. I'll mention the same thing. Average of cost in USD by continent. Okay. Did it give you, does it give you any answer here? It instantly created one particular uh, graph, isn't it?
Yeah.
True. Now, if you want the same thing by visual, do you see this? By pi visual, do you see the same graph? Or let's say you want to show this by downnet. Do you see the downnet here?
Yes. Yes.
Let's say I want to see this by gauge.
So directly we can create this Q and A, whatever the type of chart we want, we can click here. Is it so?
You can do it, but again, this is going to give you the instant. What we
Mm.
have done kind of analysis, let's say on the key influencer, you're creating certain database, right?
Yes.
Those things
Yes.
cannot be achieved by Q&A,
Mm.
but instant results can be created within this. Very instantly, you can see the data. It's like an instant mix. Got it?
Yeah. Yes.
Now, this is what the Q&A will actually help you in saving your time to plot some simple visual. So once you see a particular visual and then you want this visual to be as a visual here, you're going to click on this button. There is a tiny button between this question and settings button. There is one more button in between. So this becomes as a standard visual. The moment once you select this, that will sit as a visual. Got it?
Yes.
Now, next part, click on the settings button. Okay. So when I click on the settings button, this will take me to a new window called Field Synonyms, Review Questions, Teach Q&A, Suggest Questions. Now I'll give you an overall picture of this, what it is, because this requires an again organization account to create some scenario. So I'll give you a simple idea what exactly. Field synonyms are something like this. The moment once I click on this field synonym, under the consolidated table, it tells you what are the consolidated information it is. However, what is this exactly it tells me? Um, let's say I have a habit of writing everything in a capital letter. You have a habit of writing everything in a small letter. Someone have a proper case. But whatever you write, ultimately it has to redirect to that place. So the consolidated name, it has been shown it as small letter. I can add one more thing like consolidated here like this. Okay. Does that mean my other thing is gone? No, it is still there. However, it is also loading this suggested term. So if there is a method people can type in capital K, capital case also, it should give you the result. So that is where your field synonyms will help you to identify wherever there is a method, you can actually add something like that. Whenever it says country, it should say country. Cuisine is a cuisine. So you can add few more. You can see here country master dot nation or location or country or country. All these still, all these are still updating or getting updated on country
Country
master.
master.
Got it?
Yeah.
Now the same thing you are going to see in the managed terms. In managed terms on an overall, it will tell you how many total number of terms that you have managed, a new term. Since I have added one new term, it is automatically considering it here. And the definition of it, which means which table it is referring, it will tell you here. Okay.
Yeah.
Now review questions. Now for this, you need to have an organization account. Okay. Otherwise around you will not see why and how we need to use it. Let me give you a simple glimpse. Again, let's switch over back to the website. Now I'm writing so many questions here, correct? So just take a look. If I say PL, does it still give me an answer relevant to personal loan? Or let's say if I say CC, does it give me an answer or related to credit card? Usually when we talk about to the people or when you keep hearing from the banking terminologists, people say CC, credit card, PL, personal loan, BL, business loan. Something these are the shortcuts they use, correct?
Yeah.
Even as an outsider, I might have a tendency to do the same thing. Even when I type CCRPL, it drags me to certain level. What does this indicate? These are the managed terms. Along with that, I'm writing questions like this. Let's say, for example, I have set of questions here. Now, my question is not related to that. I will say issue with CC, for example. It gave me certain option. Till here, it is good. Let's say if I write something else, which is not there, what is going to happen? It might not give you the result. It might not give you the result. Okay. For example, expiry CC. It still gives me the CC value, like whatever it is. Okay. Maybe if I want to say um, a gift card, right? So it tells me what is a gift card. It is navigating. So these are the questions I'm just giving. Now, what is going to happen? Whatever the question that I type here, it might be irrelevant. Instead of typing gift card, I would say another name. Let's say, for example, GFIT card. or let's say if I don't card, GFIT, something like it identified, okay, it could be a gift card. But what is going to happen? All these questions are being tracked by the virtual assistant on the backend, and it will submit a report to the developer that these are the customers have posted these questions in the assistant box today. Okay, so they are
Okay.
going to see which one failed, which one answered. So for the failed questions, they are going to take up, and then they are going to again, if they find they are relevant questions, then they will feedback. Okay, next time whenever this kind of question come up, then give them this particular kind of answer. That is what the improvisation happens on the virtual assistant. Similarly, why you're not seeing the same thing on your desktop application? Why only an organization account? As I told you, desktop is your standalone application, and then again, once you distribute this onto the SharePoint, let's say the Power BI online service, and group of people are looking at this Q&A, whatever the questions that they are writing, that questions can be seen by you through this particular option called review questions. So based on that, next time whenever you want to add some more suggested questions, you can actually add them using the, or using a teach Q&A or on the suggested questions. This is only just for the improvisation of the questions that people might come ask on your report.
Okay.
Got it?
Yes.
Right. So that's the question and answer. Okay. So what you saw right now, how, as an end user, how you can use it, as also a developer, how do you recommend this or using the question and answer? Okay.
Okay.
Now the next bit, once you have an organization account, and if you click on sign in, you should see that you must have been signed in with your organization account. If you would have done that, then you have more visuals here. Your get more visuals will work only once you log into your organization account, wherein likewise, whatever the visuals you are seeing, you will see a lot more visuals in a Power BI that comes in a different methodology. New visuals, new kind of visuals you can explore using this particular get more visuals only once you log into your organization account. Otherwise around, you're not going to see.
Okay.
Got
Will you
it?
log in and show right now?
I don't have an organization account.
Oh.
Ours is a small, tiny, we are into the consultant. So it needs to have almost around 50 to 60 people who should be working in an organization together. And then you need to have a Microsoft license, you need to have a pro license, then you should be able to do it. Maybe you can give it a try on your system if you are using an office laptop. Maybe you can just give it a try.
Okay.
Let me also, tell me if you are able, if you are successfully log into your organization account. That will help me to
Sure.
show you so more information.
Yeah. Sure. What next?
Have you signed in?
No. No.
Are you blushing or are you feeling not okay to sign in? I didn't understand that.
Sorry.
Okay, will you be able to sign in is what my question is. Click on the sign in here on the top and see you're able to, it will ask you the, enter the email address. If it is your organization account, it should automatically redirect it.
Okay, then it's saying, but with personal account we can't sign in.
Exactly. The personal accounts you can't sign in. Got
Mhm.
it?
Yeah.
Fine. If you want to explore back when your organization account, just explore it. You should be able to see the options. Okay. So now let me explain the other options here. Fine. Now, so far, what you have done is you have created all the visuals which are possible visuals that I can able to show. I can show you. I mean, I have shown you. Correct. Now let's look at one more option here. I'm going to create a new page, and I would say this as a cover page. Okay. I am giving the name as a cover page. Okay. And let's say I am taking this cover page to the beginning. Unfortunately, I don't have an option that I can make sure that this page can be the first page.
No, this is not the first one.
No, I'm still doing the first one. I'm still dragging.
Home page is the first.
Right. Okay, let me say why am I doing this cover page method? Usually in an Excel file, if you are having around 15 to 20 files or 20 to 30 sheets, you expect that toggling between all the sheets is a difficult task. So what you would do, you create an index page. Once you create an index page, click on that particular link. It will redirect you to that particular sheet, whatever the sheet that you want to go to, using a hyperlink option. Similarly, imagine if you have the same sort of hyperlink option here, how it will work out. So that's what you're just gonna see. On the cover page, what I'm going to do is to go to the insert tab, and then I'm gonna click on view, sorry, insert, sorry. I'm going to click on the buttons, and on the buttons, I have an option here called the navigator. Within the navigator, I have got the page navigator. So click on the page navigator. This will actually give you the total number of pages that you have created so far on the page. Okay. And you have a lot of options here in the visual where you can create different shapes. Like either you want to keep a rectangle or you want to keep the snippet tab on the top like this or anything, pentagon, oval, or anything, anything, chevron, arrow, right? So you have a lot of options here where you can just use it. So just choose whatever the best thing that can be shown up here.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can choose it. Now your expectation could be click on this particular bubble that will take me directly to a page. No, it will not. Why? If you have published this onto your Power BI service, then it will work. But on the Power BI desktop, how do you go? Simple thing. Hold the control button on your keyboard and then select on any one of the page that will automatically redirect you to this particular page. Now, again, if you ask me, how do I go back to the home page? You need to have a particular visual, and then you remember in the home page, I have created one visual earlier. So click on
Image.
this,
Image. No?
right? Click on this and it will take you directly to the home page. So that
Mm.
is where you can actually use that by keeping the same image everywhere. Okay. So hold the control key and then see, it will automatically redirect you to this page. So that's the beauty of the page navigator.
No, what to do to come back to this cover page? Please explain.
Okay, so I have a home page here, correct? I have created one visual here. You remember this?
Yes.
First thing, I'm going to give an action to this, and I will say the destination this time will be the cover page. Okay. And now let's say, for example, I'm going to copy the same visual and go to the detail page. Let's say I'm just deleting it and pasting it here.
Okay, so in all the sheets, we must have such image to redirect to cover page, right?
Perfect. You need to have it like that. Then it
Okay.
will work perfectly so that the
Mhm.
moment once you click on that, it will redirect you to that page.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
So now using the control and this image, that will take me to the cover page back again. That is how you can organize it.
Okay, fine.
Right? Then I'll tell you a simple basics things again, a kind of a basic points. So I'm having a home page, detail page, and Asia page. Okay, let's say I'm going to the Asia page for a moment. When you deploy this report, you don't want all the users to see this data. Let's say you don't want all the users to see the data. So how do you create or how do you control over this? So for that, what you need to do is you need to create a bookmark. How do you create a bookmark? So go to the view. I'm going to the Asia tab. Go to the view, and here I have something called the bookmark. Okay, I have an option here called the bookmark. So click on the bookmark. It will add one section here called the bookmark. So I'm gonna click on this add. So there is a bookmark one. Okay, and I will say view one. And again, I'm going to create another bookmark here, and I'm going to rename this as view 2. Right? In the view 1, what I wanted to specifically see is I want slicers to be there, all these buttons to be there, but only thing is this bit should be removed and it should only show top 5 and bottom 5. How do I control it? So go to the section under when I'm on the selection of the view 1, go to the selection. Okay, it will open one more layer. In this layer, you will see each one of the visual that I'm selecting here. It is already being selecting on the left hand side. So there is a table. When I select the table is been highlighted. I'm just going to hide this visual using this, hide this visual, and then go to the view and then say update. Okay. And then when I go to the view 2, I want to see the table back. Okay. View 1 में table नहीं होना चाहिए, and then view 2 I need to see the table. Now the bookmarks are set right. Now let's go and test it. When I click on the view, you will see in the view 1 the table is missing,
Yes.
and on the view 2 the table is there. And with this, once you have done, now you can ask me, till here it is good. How do I control this?
Mhm.
Simple thing. In the cover page, instead of the page navigator, you can go back and click on the insert, click on the button. You can click on the bookmark navigator.
Oh,
This will open
created
all the
bookmarks.
right. So when I click on the view 1, it will directly show me the view 1 where I can see this. Got it?
Yeah.
So when I click back, maybe I have not given, yeah, I think it
The
is redirected
navigator.
to the home page. Yeah. So when I go to the cover page and then click on this time view 2, now you will see
Table
the
is
table
there.
is back.
Yes.
Now you understand how you can control a particular view for the people. You need to play around these options. Let me tell you, you need to play around with these options. Unless and until you don't play around like a practice, you will not be able to
Mhm.
do it. Okay? But you can
Yes.
do it. It's not so difficult to know. Okay?
Yeah.
Right. So let me also show you one more thing. Now this entire data here, maybe specifically you can see it here. This entire page, you are seeing all the continents, correct? Now let's say, for example, in views, I have a different methodology. What is that? I have the different methodology. See, I'll go to the modeling tab. Under the modeling tab, I have something called the manage role and view role. Okay. So I'll click on the manage role. I'll click on the manage role. Okay. Under the manage role, you're going to see what are the roles that you can create. Now, let's say I'm going to create one role here and I'll say this is Joyce role. Okay. And I'm going to create one more role and I'll say this is Lisa role. And I don't need to write it role. I can just put Lisa and I can also rename this to Joyce. Okay. And then third view, let's say I'm gonna create Saket. What my expectation is for Joyce, she have to see only the data pertaining to from the consolidated table. She have to see the data only pertaining to Asia. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the consolidated, click on this three dots. It will add a filter. And in the filter, I'm looking out for the continent. Okay, this is a continent. So I would say the continent value should be Asia. This is called the Asia continent. And I'm gonna tick mark this just to understand is my expression correct or not. So I'm okay with this. Then when Lisa logs in, I will say Lisa should only see the data pertaining to the continents, Europe, and instead of and, okay, I would say either she can see Europe or either she can also see Oceania. So for that, what I need to do is I'm going to use two parallel symbols like this, give space, and I can copy the same expression. And instead of Europe, I will say Oceania. Okay. And what does this two parallel symbols indicate? It indicates Europe or
Or
Asia. Sorry,
yes.
Europe or Oceania. Then when I click on this tick mark, okay, there is no issue here. Well and good. For Saket alone, I wanted to show Saket only the data pertaining to Nam or Sam. And now I check mark this. Well and good. So I have created three different roles. Then I will say admin role. Admin role may I don't have any issues at all. So I'm just going to leave it as it is. Okay. So now I'll click on save. Now I have created successfully four roles. Now the point is, will that work in Power BI desktop application? No. Where does it work? Power BI service. Okay. You can ask me like, how do I know that it works in Power BI? For that, instead of the manage role, you are going to see as a view role. So when I click on the view role, I have got all the roles I have assigned here. Let's say I'm going to Joyce role and click OK. Now this filter should only give me the Asia. You'll just see for a minute. The data will be automatically selected for the Asia. Do you see that now the data is only given for Asia?
Yes.
Now similarly, if I want to go and look for Lisa's view, now Lisa should only see Europe or Oceania.
Yes.
Let's test Saket view also. So he should only see Nam and Sam, right? Now the same data pertaining to all the other regions will also show only for this. You go wherever you, okay? Here you will see blank because you are not given Asia. Africa, you have not given access for Saket. But on the bar chart and everywhere, you will see only Nam and Sam. Got it? Now, when I
Yes.
click on the stop viewing, it will just reset back to the whole normal report like how we have designed.
Where is that? Stop viewing.
I mean, just on the top here on the top, you will see that stop viewing button. That's it. Like when I click on this view and then choose Joyce and click OK.
Mm. Yeah.
So I'll click on the stop viewing. This will reset back to the original data.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yes, of course.
Sorry. But there is another extension over this onto the Power BI online service, because you will see all the views there and you need to give email address of each of the person. Only then that will shoot an email to the people. Then that is where they can see the data. Okay. Since you don't have that login, so what you can do is I'll share the link over it where you can just see that link followed by the procedure. It will be easy. So whenever you have time with your organization account, you can try it over it and then see. But on the Power BI desktop, you will not see anything like that. This is only the place where you can just set. And what you did right now, this is called the RLS, which is called row level security. Okay. It's called RLS, row
You
level
will be
security.
giving the mail address of the person, right?
Right. You'll be giving the mail address of the person so that only that person, when he logs in through his organization account, he will automatically be redirected only to those particular regions. Okay.
Yeah.
It all depends upon your creativity. And even on the cover page, if you want to hide certain buttons for certain people, you can do the same thing using the selections. Got it?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. So I'll do one thing. I'll stop it here. And I would like to hear from you. Do you have any questions or anything? Scatter chat, I'll give you a link. Sorry, I didn't realize that today is the last day. My bad. It's purely my mistake. I'll give you certain things because on the scatter chart, what happens where the reason why it becomes bit of understanding here. See, it has a lot of different methodologies on the scatter chart. Okay, this is how your scatter chart should look like. But in order to give a scatter chart a look, okay, it needs a lot of information that needs to be given. You see here, it has got a lot of informations that you need to give. Only once you give that information, you will see. But scatter chart is least used anywhere. Unless and until want to give a comparison between two different numeric values, but still we can achieve the same thing with other visuals as well. But you can take a look at this bit, which I'm gonna share anyways in the material. So you will be having an best of knowledge over it onto that. Okay.
Or is it needed to have a one more session with the 1 hour? Is it possible?
Actually, I'm still completely tied with all the training things in between. But anyways, you will have the email support. So probably you can give us an email in case you have any question. I'll give you the support on the email.
Email in the sense you'll share the ID.
Right. Whatever the questions that, yeah, I'll share the ID. So whatever the questions you have got, you can just post it over there. So we'll be attending that directly. Okay.
Yeah.
And anyways, Prabhas is also in touch with you guys. So I think there should be so something. If there is anything, you can also reach out to Prabhas or either to us. No problem. We'll address your queries. So do you have any other questions? Like so far,
Any
like
other
how is your
visual,
journey?
Python visual, any other thing to
Again,
be?
Python visual, you just take a look at this one. Okay, when I click on the Python, the very first thing it requires is a kind of an additional script editor. Okay, see, I need to enable this. And you can see here on the top, this is a Python visual. Okay, so all it just needs is also the same data. Let's say I'm giving the cost in USD here, and I'll just mention this as average USD. Just take a look at that. Okay, and then I'm bringing the continent. Okay, now what is going to happen here? I'm going to select one of the visual. Let's say stake chart. Okay, so this is the same thing. What happens on the Python here? It just tells you. So it needs to have a proper, what do you say? It needs to have a unique rows. So in this case, if I remove this and then also bring a continent, this is how your data looks like. So you need to have a bit of prior coding knowledge onto this. Otherwise, around you'll not see any information. And this will not work for you directly. It needs to have a special editor scripting for that. I would suggest this way. If you think that I'm not, taking it so back, but I mean not discouraging you, but still, I would say just try to play around with all the other visuals. So because you in R and Python, you will see the same thing probably in um, like you might get a support over it, but you will get to know by just doing some coding instead of directly bringing the visual. You are just going to do it with using a scripting editor. That's it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions so far? Like whatever the journey you had from the day one to day till date. Like how do you like do you have a confidence that you can able to build some report for you on
Yes,
your
yes.
thing?
Yes, Shrikant, share such a valuable training. And thank you so much for the wisdom and experience that you have shared. Learned a lot. Thank you so much. Surely we have to need more practice.
Oh,
Um,
that is always there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anything, correct? Just because that you
Wonderful
got a
session.
just because that you got a license from the car that you drove it or not just for a moment, but unless and until you don't keep practicing, you will not be able to know the hurdles over, like when you go on the road, when you go
Yes,
on the
yes.
reality, correct? It's exactly the same thing. So you just need to keep practicing more. There is a use or there is no use. If you
So
start
if
trying
there
to
is
work
any
on it, will
need
be
of
good.
a support, anytime we can contact you, right?
Yes, you can always definitely
Yeah.
will be there. The support will always be there on that.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
Prabhas, anything from you? I'm not sure if he's in a session or
Yeah, yeah,
something.
Shrikant, I'm there. Nothing
Okay.
from much from my side. Only thing is, as you shared already your email ID, anytime any queries comes up, they can also drop a mail. So that is the email assistance we have always as we have committed.
Yep.
So it's not a problem. Only thing is the recordings I'll be sharing as usual by end of the day max. So Joyce, only thing is now the balls are in your court. You have to practice well and you have to make a difference
Yes.
at your
Yep.
workplace. That is the only thing. So I wish Lisa would have attended, but unfortunately she could not. So you can share the things, whatever the
Share.
workings or everything. But anyway, I'll be dropping also a mail. Srikanth, you can share this day-wise, whatever the materials you have
Yep.
created, no? So that you can share it across to me so that I can put all together in one file as zip folder and I can send it across to all the participants. All right?
Sure. Sure. We'll do it
All right.
definitely.
All right. No problem.
Okay. Thank you,
All right,
Prabha.
Jess, thank you so much for attending the workshop. So keep spreading the words and let other people also benefiting out of
I know
this.
she'll be doing it.
Yeah.
That's what my gut says.
Okay, okay,
Thank you.
okay. Not a problem. Fine then. So with this, we'll call it as a day. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Joyce. Keep practice.
Yes.
Okay. Practice பண்ணுங்க நல்லா பண்ணுங்க. ஒன்னும் பிரச்சனை இல்லை. ஏதாவது
Thank
இருந்தா நீங்க